Vermont has seen a lot of snowfall in the past week, which made this weekend perfect for visiting the slopes, sledding down the local hill, or even riding the snowmobile trails that run throughout the Northeast Kingdom. News 7's Kieran Brisson has the story.
With the 2 snowstorms that fell last week, the snowmobile trails are the best they have been all year in the Northeast Kingdom, and riders took advantage of the powder-covered terrain.
Well, the trails are definitely in better condition than they were a few weeks ago. Glad to see some snow back. Last year we had a short season, so hopefully this year will be a little longer.
Due to a very short winter season last year, there are many snowmobile riders who feel that they need to make up for lost time this winter. And what could be better on a weekend afternoon than a nice ride through the countryside, gliding over a marvelous snowpack?
They probably just getting out, being with friends, seeing the wildlife in the woods, and just having fun.
However, it isn't just the foot of snow that we got over the week that have people out today. It's also Marty's gas station, with being able to fill the gas needs of all of the sledders and also being a convenient spot for all the snowmobiling trails. It's no wonder that this has quickly become a favorite spot for both seasoned veterans and new snowmobilers alike.
This is one of the better places in Vermont to ride. It's just great. It's got everything you need, other than lodging, of course.
Kieran Brisson, News 7, Danville.
With warmer weather in the forecast, hopefully we can get some cold weather to follow next weekend.
Dedicated Easter egg hunters flocked to Burke Mountain yesterday afternoon, where they completed the competition in less than 10 minutes.
The Mountains event coordinator joked, saying that they had prepared for last year's turnout, which was less than 20 kids. News 7's Rachel Johnson was at the mountain and got a first-hand taste of the competitive aftermath.
I found 2 eggs.
Yeah.
And they had candy in them. It was hard, actually. Me and Tommy walked around the whole hotel, and we couldn't find one single egg.
I think so. I think there are some kids that wish they'd found more eggs or an egg, but Berkey's here having a good time too. So, have you met my friend Berkey? We met briefly. Yeah, Berkey. We just had like 100+ children flood out of the hotel onto the patio looking for about 150 eggs. Last year we had 15 kids show up. So I guess our advertising worked. That's awesome. Next year we'll hide like 400 or something.
It was really crazy because everyone tried to barge out of the doors, trying to find the eggs because we were all watching the lady hide them. And it was actually really hard because you can't run fast in ski boots. I really like Easter.
Derek Samuels is the owner of Genuine Jamaican in Barnet, a catering business that started after providing samples at local farmers markets. Samuels now operates a thriving business, providing the community with dishes that are authentic to his culture. News 7 visited Samuels today to learn about the interesting life that has led a Jamaican chef to the northern Vermont.
A little over a year. We were friends before that. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But actually, I grew up in Jamaica. Was born there. Lived there most all my life. I started coming here when I was about 26 years old. I started working on Carnival Cruise Lines. The thing is, it didn't start out this way, though. You know what I'm saying? I used to begin with, I used to go, I love to cook, and I couldn't find the ingredients I needed here to cook my Jamaican type food. So every time I'd go visit Jamaica, I'd bring stuff back. Then I started doing taste testing at the market. So I'd cook stuff, bring there for people to try.
Oh no. Yum.
You know, so they can, and they'll ask me questions. I teach them how to cook this stuff. And then they wanted to buy my testers. It's like, yeah, can we buy this and take home? No, because this is what I got here for my product to sell it. Then I started cooking for the market, just a little bit, not too much. You know what I'm saying? And then it just kind of over the years, it exploded. I mean, everything is natural. I do most of this stuff myself. I buy whatever material I need to make my products from reputable people. I don't just go and buy it. And most of the stuff I do from the farmers market in the summertime. And I plant a lot of my own peppers and some veggies and garlic, that kind of stuff. This business has been good to me. Yeah, and I have to really give a lot of credit to the community in general. You know what I'm saying? Because they support my business. They give me opportunities, you know.
This Saturday, Samuels will be catering his 4th Jamaican dinner and dance night at Catamount Arts. It will be a night of celebration, music, and food.
And we opened up in 2008. A couple of years ago, we decided to change the business model to be more inclusive with the community. So we approached various artists and entrepreneurs about sharing the space. And none of it really worked out until we came up with the cafe idea.
A few years ago, he partnered with our friend Florian Rexepi to create a cafe in the space, just to try and get a little more local interest, to get a little more foot traffic in the gallery, and just sort of bolster the conversation. 7 to 5 during the week. We've been 9 to 5 on the weekend, though I think I'm going to move a little later on Saturday. It's tough because we live in a really beautiful place and the people who live here love it, but you know, it's economically limited. The population is small, which is part of the strength and why it is able to remain so beautiful and like it's free feeling. But it's a hard place for business because businesses need traffic, and there's the tried and true, you know, pizza joint, and then after that it gets thin. And Pika Pika up the hill has been really an awesome addition. And the tap room has been really great, and there's like this forward momentum that I'm feeling around here, but there aren't a lot of places to just meet with a friend and catch up, you know, a place where you can stay for hours, and you know, if you need to do some work, great, or if you want to meet somebody new, like a place for exchange. Yesterday we were filled. In the afternoon there was, you know, a few ladies, you know, from around town who sat on the couch and ate a mochi platter, and all the tables were filled with students, and there was 3 international students sitting out front, you know, drinking their milkshake and listening to some really awesome Arabic music, and it felt right. It was like a moment of like, this is what we're going for. It was, because it wasn't just one dynamic, it wasn't just students or just locals, it was a good mix of people, and there's a lot of things going on, and it was interesting, and it was warm, and it was fun, and it was a good moment.
There is still some ice out on Joe's Pond in Danville and Cabot, and with that being said, the ice out timer is still ticking, and according to the Ice Out Association, there are over 1,300 tickets that have made dates for the ice out. The last time the timer was still ticking in May was over a decade ago, and even though it's not an exact science, the timer could stop as early as this weekend.
We're predicting with this wind now picking up and the sun coming out, and a little bit of rain coming up tomorrow, I believe. I'm going to guess this weekend, which is today's the 2nd, so let's talk about the 5th and 6th.
After mass shootings occur, the question unearths itself. Should the United States take up gun control?
And for a lot of people, it's a really tough question. As News 7's Ted Gilman shows, guns can be used for competitive and sporting achievements.
Reload, aim, fire. Meet Reese Toll, one of the nation's top-ranked marksmen in the Young Guns division of the National Rifle League for shooting .22 caliber rifles. Reese has been shooting guns since the age of 4, and like father, like son, Reese took a liking to precision shooting.
He brought me to the range, and as far as I can remember, I just shot, you know, like gave me a gun, helped me shoot it, and ever since then I've just liked shooting.
Shooting guns was love at first sight for Reese, an awe type of feeling, if you will.
Awe. It was very, especially when I was young, it was very interesting and kind of awe-inspiring just to watch, like, because, you know, I was a little kid, it was loud sounds and big flashes.
This Sunday marks the first ever New England regional competition for the league, and it's competitions like this that bring out Reese's best characteristics.
There's a lot involved to this game and to shooting and rifle ballistics, rifle craft in general, that there's math involved, there's ballistics involved, there's calculations, there's decisions to be made, problems to be solved, and I think he enjoys that part of it. He and I work closely when we shoot matches together.
Patience to wait to make a good shot and to practice, and a good sense of mind so you're not always all over the place. You have so you can just stay calm, I guess.
Ted Gilman, News 7, St. Johnsbury.
Many farmers throughout the Northeast Kingdom are exposed to the agriculture industry at an early age. But for Zach Mangione, owner of Cross Farm in Barnet, that isn't exactly the case. Mangione grew up in New York and moved to Vermont after college with the intention of owning his own farm. News 7's Rachel Johnson has more.
I grew up like in the suburbs outside of Albany, you know, in like a highly, you know, it's like highly developed neighborhood. All the houses were like pretty darn close. And it's just, you know, it's the suburbs. You have to drive everywhere, and, you know, just very commercial, like all over, everywhere. And in terms, I was just thinking about this. In terms of farming, like, I don't even think I had ever, like, stepped foot on a farm.
Zach moved to Vermont to attend St. Michael's College, where he received a degree in business. And although many wouldn't associate that major with farming, it's a background that has helped him expand Cross Farm tremendously.
Because I had given myself sort of this, like, soft goal of not necessarily owning, but at least operating my own farm by the time I was 30. And then, well, it happened. It's all certified organic livestock for meat. So I raise pork and lamb, and then poultry as well. So this year, or last season, I grew 500 meat birds, chickens, and 25 turkeys for Thanksgiving. And I'll do the same amount of chickens and then 100 turkeys this year.
Zach is the only member of his family to leave the suburbs for rural Vermont. He says they're supportive of his decision, but they still like to joke about his new lifestyle.
So I'm an only child, but I have a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins, and they love to like make jokes and laugh. They think they just like think it's a hoot.
Despite the hard work and countless hours that go into running his business, Zach feels that there is no work more fulfilling.
It's just like really rewarding work. I mean, what's more like essential than growing food for people, right? So for me, it's like I can like every day, I mean, it's like clear in your mind, like what you're doing, like what the purpose is.
Rachel Johnson, News 7, Barnet.
And Cross Farm recently opened a farm stand open daily with fully stocked lamb, pork, and chicken.
Signet, and the product of Chinese calligraphy consists of the Chinese Calligraphy Exhibition. This exhibition was held at Samuel Reed Hall Library at Linden State College today. Designer and the host Wenyu Xia offered the bubble tea and will share more about the art of Chinese characters with you.
I find that this is the hardest letter to write. I don't know. This is like so hard, complicated. I don't even know where to start writing from. It's top to bottom. Yeah, it's really hard.
Learning how to write Chinese characters with brushes and ink on a special paper is hard. However, just trying it and getting the unique experience are the goal for this Chinese calligraphy exhibition.
The tools for Chinese calligraphy is the brush, just like the pen, and then we also use ink stone to add some water and create ink.
Designer and the host, Wenyu Xia, used one Chinese character in the post to show the calligraphy style of China.
It's based on the Chinese calligraphy. On top, it's a Chinese character, means blessing. It's a very famous Chinese character. It's to shows good luck for lots of Chinese, and we like to put it into our door for the Spring Festival. So that was in the poster. That was actually my calligraphy, and then I tried to simplify the way the information.
She said, as a foreigner who settled in Vermont for 3 years, she has a responsibility to share her own culture to the community.
Since I moved here, I feel a little bit isolated because the culture difference and languages difference. So I realized art form is a great way to express myself. And I also realized there are some misunderstandings for Chinese in US, and I mean, some of them are pretty bad, and of course there are good ones. And I just want to do my job to introduce Chinese culture, and also it's a good way for me to give back to the community here because I get a lot from the community in Vermont. So I designed some Chinese characters in an easy way to show them what's Chinese characters, like pictographer, and it's to show them what's Chinese characters, why they look like that.
I think my favorite part so far was seeing my last name written out. That was cool. But even more so, just learning a little bit about how some of these letters were formed. I'm really interested in how they're sort of a word and an image at the same time. So it's kind of fun to learn some of the history.
In order to hold this kind of event, she always paid by herself and hoped the information could be shared to a wider audience. During today's 5-hour exhibition, she explained to the visitors the history of Chinese calligraphy and how to use the tools to write these Chinese characters. Emma Quinn, News 7, Lyndonville.
2.5, 2 plus. We'll slow down to be easier to look at in a minute. These are 2-year-old brown trout in this tank. That's what these are. It's a slow spring. I just heard on the radio this morning from Mark Breen that this is the coldest April in 40 years. I believe it. I wasn't farming 40 years ago, so I don't have a recollection, but it's been a very slow season to start. I still have snow on the ground here at my house. Everything is too wet to do anything in the fields. I mean, there's some years, there are some years with an early spring I've already transplanted onions by now, in some years, and they're still in the greenhouse. And like I say, I start the onion transplants from seed back in March in the house, and I move them out to the greenhouse. And then when it gets warm enough, I move them out on benches outside, and they get hardened off, and then I transplant them on the ground. And like I say, at this point, they're still in the greenhouse. They're not even outside yet. The plants don't do well, and if it's cold and wet and that type of stuff. So, but you have to prepare the fields, even though, in the fall I do things that they're somewhat prepared, but they still have to be cultivated and prepared in order to put them in the ground, and you can't do that when you've got ankle deep mud, which is what a lot of my fields are at the moment. Listening to the weather report this morning, they said it's supposed to be up in the 70s by Wednesday, and if that comes true and we get a few days like that, a week from now I could be out there planting, or if it doesn't go as predicted and it stays cold, it might be 2 weeks before I get out there. Some seasons are early, some seasons are slow. This is a slow season, it's a late season. That's just the way it goes.
Well, it's just a funny little show. These sisters are putting on a benefit to raise some money because most of their order has died of some poison soup, and they've got to bury them. They've still got 4 of them left in the freezer because they've run out of money. So they're putting on a talent show with nuns who are not used to performing. So it gets to be very interesting.
And something very special about this show are the directors, who worked together when the St. Johnsbury Players last performed it in 1994.
I was in Nonsense 24 years ago. I was the novice, the would-be ballerina, Sister Leo, and Michelle was my director at that time. So it is just a joy to be here 24 years later and be collaborating on this show, which was just a delight to do then, and we're having so much fun now.
Pat and I have a long history together. Of course, we went to school. We're both Linden graduates. And my husband, who's also the band director, is a Linden graduate. And we've done musical theater together for years.
Pat and Michelle talked highly of many aspects of the production, emphasizing in particular the joy that they've had working with this group of talented women.
There's something special about working with just a small group and on top of that, a small group of just women. We've had a lot of laughs because we can all laugh together. We laugh at each other. We laugh at the story. So it's been a good time.
We're just having fun. Don't film that.
Well, we just hope that people will come out and have a wonderful time. I mean, isn't that the point, you know? At the beginning, they sing a blessing about happy hearts. I looked up the Latin today, and I just thought, well, isn't that the whole point of something like this? You know, bringing people into a room, live performance, and just making people happy. So that's our aim.
Rachel Johnson, News 7, St. Johnsbury.